Love a story that warms your heart and keeps you guessing? Hit that like button and subscribe. We've got romance, family secrets, and triumphs just for you, every day. The air in the old stone church smells of beeswax and wilting roses, heavy, with the weight of promises I never wanted to make. My wedding dress clings to my skin, the silk damp with nervous sweat, its lace edges scratching like a whispered warning. I, Clara Moretti, stand before the altar, my hands trembling as I clutch a bouquet of white roses that feel more like a shackle than a symbol of love. The stained glass windows cast fractured light across the pews, and the organ's final note lingers, a low hum that amplifies the silence. My heart pounds, each beat a reminder of the deal I struck. Marry Vincent Alden to save my father from ruin. Vincent stands across from me, his gray eyes cold as the granite floor beneath us. His tailored suit hugs a frame that's all sharp angles, broad, shoulders, a jaw carved like a blade. He slides the ring onto my finger, his touch deliberate, almost clinical. But when his skin brushes mine, a jolt of warmth shoots through me, unbidden and confusing. "You belong to me," he says, his voice low, a velvet growl that feels like both a vow and a verdict. I want to pull away, to scream that I belong to no one, but the weight of my family's future anchors me in place. I think of my mother, Margaret, her cough echoing in our cramped kitchen, the smell of brewed coffee lingering as she knotted her scarf tighter to hide her frailty. I see my father, Thomas, his shoulders slumped under the shame of debts he couldn't repay, and my little brother Marco, his mischievous grin fading when he overheard the word bankruptcy. I agreed to this marriage to save them, to keep the hospital bills paid and the roof over their heads. But standing here, under the flickering candles, I wonder if I've traded one prison for another. The priest's words blur into a drone, and soon it's over. The congregation claps politely, their murmurs swallowed by the church's vastness. Vincent offers his arm, and I take it, my fingers stiff against the crisp fabric of his sleeve. His cologne, sandalwood and something darker, like aged whiskey, invades my senses, stirring a flicker of curiosity I don't want to feel. We step into the rain-damp evening, the cobblestone path slick under my heels, and I glimpse my mother, in the crowd, her eyes glistening with tears she won't let fall. I want to run to her, to feel the rough warmth of the scarf she knitted me, but Vincent's grip steers me toward the waiting car. The drive to the Alden estate is silent, the city's lights streaking past like falling stars. Inside the mansion, the air is thick with polish and wealth, the kind that suffocates. Crystal chandeliers gleam overhead, casting shadows on mahogany walls, but the warmth of the fire in the grand hall doesn't reach me. Vincent pauses at the foot of the sweeping staircase, his gaze locking onto mine. "This isn't a fairy tale, Clara," he says, his voice cutting through the quiet. "Don't expect one." I swallow the retort burning in my throat. "I know what this is," I say, my voice steadier than I feel. "I'm here for my family, not for you." His lips twitch, not quite a smile, and for a moment, I think I see something flicker in his eyes. Regret, maybe, or recognition. But he turns away, his footsteps echoing as he disappears into the depths of the house, leaving me alone. I find my room, a cavernous space with silk drapes and a four-poster bed that feels more like a stage than a refuge. The rain taps the windows, a relentless rhythm, and I sink onto the edge of the mattress, still in my dress, its weight pulling at my shoulders. My fingers trace the scarf my mother gave me, tucked into my bag like a lifeline. Its wool is coarse, frayed at the edges, but it smells of home, of coffee brewing at dawn, of her soft humming as she knitted late into the night. I press it to my cheek, and the ache in my chest sharpens. I think of the tattered dreams I left behind in my flower shop, where I'd lose myself trimming carnations, their sharp scent grounding me. I imagined love as something gentle, like petals unfurling in spring, not this cold transaction sealed with a ring. Vincent's words, "You belong to me," echo in my mind, and I clench the scarf tighter, my knuckles whitening. I'm not. His, not really. But the deal binds me as surely as the vows we spoke. Yet that moment in the church lingers uninvited. His touch, fleeting as it was, sparked something. A heat I didn't expect. A question I'm afraid to ask. Who is Vincent Alden, beyond the CEO with a fortune and a name that opens doors? His eyes held a shadow, a depth that didn't match his icy words. I shake my head, trying to dislodge the thought. He's a stranger, a means to an end, nothing more. The rain grows louder, a steady drum against the glass, and I stand, crossing to the window. The Hudson River glints faintly in the distance, its surface rippling under the storm. I'm 24, and I've never been in love, never felt the pull of desire, until that fleeting touch, that maddening spark. It terrifies me, not because of Vincent, but because of what it might mean about me. Have I buried my own heart so deep I don't know it anymore? I clutch the scarf, my mother's strength woven into every stitch, and make a silent vow of my own. I'll honor my family, keep them safe, but I won't let this marriage erase me. If Vincent thinks he owns me, he's wrong. I'll find a way to hold on to Clara Moretti, even in this gilded cage. And maybe, just maybe, I'll uncover what lies behind those gray eyes, whether it's a wall or a window to something real. The Alden estate feels like a museum, all polished wood and gleaming crystal, but it's as warm as a mausoleum. I wake to sunlight streaming through silk drapes, the scent of lavender from the linens doing little to ease the knot in my chest. My wedding dress lies discarded on a velvet chair, a ghost of yesterday's vows. I'm Clara Moretti, but in this house I'm something else, a stranger, a pawn, a wife in name only. The thought makes my fingers tighten around my mother's scarf, still tucked against my pillow. Its coarse wool a tether to the world I left behind. Downstairs, the grand dining room is silent except for the clink of a maid setting out coffee. The air smells of roasted beans and something richer, like aged leather from the books lining the walls. Vincent is nowhere to be seen, and I'm relieved, though a traitorous part of me recalls the jolt of his touch in the church. A spark I'm determined to ignore. I sip the coffee, its bitterness grounding me, and think of my mother's kitchen, where she'd brew a pot at dawn, her cough punctuating the quiet. I need to see her, to know she's okay, to remind myself why I'm here. I find a phone in the study, its mahogany desk heavy with the scent of polish. My mother answers on the second ring, her voice frail but warm. "Clara, are you all right?" she asks, and I picture her in her faded apron, stirring sugar into her mug. I lie, saying I'm fine, but when she coughs, a wet, rattling sound, my throat tightens. "I'm coming to see you today," I say, and she protests, but I insist. Hanging up, I feel the weight of my promise to save her, to save us all, pressing harder than ever. Vincent appears as I leave the study, his presence like a storm cloud rolling in. His suit is immaculate, dark as midnight, and his gray eyes sweep over me, unreadable. "Going somewhere?" he asks, his voice low, edged with control. I lift my chin, clutching my bag with the scarf inside. "To see my mother," I say, daring him to object. To my surprise, he nods but adds, "Take the driver. This world isn't as safe as your flower shop." His words linger, a warning, or a concession. I can't tell which. As I step outside, the air crisp with the promise of rain, I feel his gaze on my back, heavy and unsettling. The drive to my mother's apartment is a blur of city streets, honking horns, and the faint smell of gasoline. Her building is worn, the stairwell reeking of damp plaster. But when I step inside, the familiar scent of coffee and baked bread wraps around me like an embrace. My mother sits in her armchair, her face pale but her smile bright. I kneel beside her, wiping a bead of sweat from her brow with a cloth, my heart aching at how fragile she feels. "You shouldn't worry about me," she says, but her cough betrays her. I tell her about the mansion, leaving out the coldness. And when Marco bursts in, his sneakers muddy, he thrusts a crumpled daisy at me. "For you, Clara." He grins, and I laugh, tucking it into my hair. Too soon, I have to leave. Back at the estate, the opulence feels even more oppressive after my mother's cramped warmth. That evening, Vincent insists I attend a charity gala, a glittering affair in a Manhattan ballroom. The room smells of champagne and perfume, chandeliers casting light like scattered diamonds. I wear a sapphire gown chosen by his staff. It's fabric, cool against my skin, but I feel like an imposter among the elite, their laughter sharp as glass. Vincent stays close, his arm brushing mine, his cologne, sandalwood and whiskey, stirring that unwanted spark again. I catch him watching me, his expression unreadable, and my pulse quickens, betraying me. Then I meet Eliza Kane, a sleek woman with eyes like a predator's. She's the head of a media firm, her smile as calculated as her crimson dress. "Clara, you're Vincent's new jewel," she says, her voice dripping honey. "But jewels break under pressure, don't they?" Her words cut, and I stiffen, sensing a threat beneath her charm. Vincent's hand grazes mine, a fleeting anchor, but he doesn't speak, and I wonder if he heard her, or if he agrees. The moment passes, but Eliza's gaze lingers, promising trouble I can't yet name. Later, alone in my room, I stand by the window, the rain now falling in earnest, its rhythm a mirror to my thoughts. I pull my mother's scarf from my bag, pressing it to my cheek, its wool soft with memory. I think of her cough, Marco's daisy, my father's shame. They're why I'm here, not for Vincent or his world of secrets. But as I replay the night, Eliza's words, "jewels break," echo alongside Vincent's touch, his warning about safety, his silence against her barb. What kind of man is he, really? A captor, a protector, or something else entirely? I trace the window's cold glass, my reflection blurred by rain. I'm 24, a virgin in every sense, heart, body, soul, trapped in a marriage I didn't choose. Yet that graze of his hand, the way his eyes flickered when I spoke of my mother, it's a crack in his armor, a question I'm not ready to answer. I made a vow to my family, to keep them whole, but another vow is forming, quieter, fiercer. I won't let this gilded cage define me. If Vincent thinks he owns me, he'll learn I'm not so easily claimed. The kitchen at my mother's apartment smells of coffee and fresh-baked cookies, a warmth that wraps around me like a memory of safer days. I sit across from her, stirring cream into my mug, the ceramic warm against my palms. Her cough breaks the quiet, sharp and wet, and I flinch, my heart twisting. Margaret Moretti looks smaller today, her sweater hanging loose on her frame, but her eyes still hold that fierce love I've leaned on my whole life. "You don't have to come every day, Clara," she says, her voice soft but stubborn. I smile, brushing a crumb from the table. I want to. I'm here to escape the Alden estate, its polished wood and cold silence, but also to anchor myself to why I married Vincent Alden. The scarf she knitted me lies across my lap, its wool rough but comforting, a reminder of her strength. I think of my father, Thomas, whose debts chained me to this marriage, and my brother, Marco, whose goofy grin keeps me fighting. But the gala last night, Eliza Kane's venomous smile, Vincent's fleeting touch, has left me unsettled, like I'm walking a tightrope over a chasm I can't see. My phone buzzes, and it's my father. His voice is heavy, cracked with shame. "Clara, I'm sorry," he says, and I picture him in his worn jacket, head bowed. I never meant for this to happen. The debts, the failed business, the deal that sold me to Vincent, it's all there in his apology, and anger flares in my chest. "We'll fix it, Dad," I say, my voice tight. "I'm doing this for us." I hang up, my hands trembling, and my mother reaches for me, her fingers frail but firm. "You're stronger than you know," she says, and I want to believe her. Marco bursts through the door, his backpack swinging, and thrusts a crumpled drawing at me, a lopsided flower with my name scrawled beneath. "For your shop," he beams, and I laugh, the sound easing the ache inside. I hug him, his hair smelling of grass and boyish sweat, and for a moment, I'm not Vincent's wife or my father's savior. Just Clara, sister and daughter. But the clock ticks, and I know I have to return to the mansion, to the life I didn't choose. Back at the Alden estate, the air is thick with the scent of old paper as I wander into the library, a cavern of leather-bound books and shadowed corners. I'm restless. Eliza's words, jewels break, gnawing at me like a splinter. I trail my fingers along the shelves, dust clinging to my skin, and pause at a small drawer half hidden behind a globe. Curiosity pulls me forward, and inside, I find a faded letter, its edges brittle. It's addressed to my dearest Vincent, in a looping script, signed Mom. My breath catches. The words are tender but cryptic. "Forgive me for what happened at the gala. I never meant to leave you." A date from 15 years ago marks the page, and my mind races. Was this Vincent's mother? Did she die in an accident, as the rumors suggest, or something else? Footsteps echo, and I shove the letter back, my pulse hammering. Vincent appears in the doorway, his suit dark against the golden light, his gray eyes narrowing. "What are you doing here?" he asks, his voice a blade. I stand, my hands clenching, at my sides. Looking for answers, I snap, anger spilling over. From my father, from Eliza, from this cage. "I'm here for my family, Vincent. What are you here for?" His jaw tightens, and for a moment, I think he'll lash out. But then he steps closer, his cologne, sandalwood and whiskey, flooding my senses, and his hand grazes my shoulder, light as a whisper. "You're not alone, Clara," he says, his voice softer, almost broken. The air shifts, charged with something I can't name. His touch lingers, warm and steady, and my breath hitches, caught between fear and a longing. I don't understand. I'm 24, untouched by love. And this man, my husband in name only, stirs a heat I've never known. But the letter's words burn in my mind, and I step back, breaking the spell. "Don't pretend you care," I say, my voice shaking. "I don't need your pity." His eyes darken, a storm brewing, but he says nothing, turning away with a quiet that feels louder than any shout. I flee to my room, the scarf clutched to my chest, its wool grounding me. The rain outside is a steady drum, mirroring my thoughts. My father's apology, my mother's cough, Marco's drawing, they're my reasons, my strength. But the letter haunts me, a crack in Vincent's icy facade. Who was his mother? And what gala broke them? I think of Eliza's smile, her knowing glance. Does she hold the key to his past? And why does his touch, brief as it was, linger like a brand on my skin? I stand by the window, the glass cool against my palm, and watch, the rain blur the world beyond. I'm trapped in this marriage, in this house, but I'm not powerless. I vowed to save my family, to keep my mother's heart beating, my father's shame buried, Marco's smile alive. Vincent may think he owns me, but he doesn't know me. Not yet. I'll uncover his secrets, not to break him, but to understand the man behind those gray eyes. And if there's something real beneath his armor, I'll find it. Not for him, but for the part of me that's starting to wonder what it means to feel alive. The rain drums against the glass walls of Vincent's office, a relentless beat that mirrors the storm inside me. I stand across from him, my hands clenched, the air thick with the bitter scent of coffee from his untouched mug. Papers are strewn across his desk, headlines screaming through my mind. Moretti fraud exposed. Eliza Kane's poison has spread. her media empire splashing my father's shame across every screen in New York. My chest tightens as I think of my mother, Margaret, lying in a hospital bed, her cough worsening with every passing hour. I came here to confront Vincent, to demand answers, but now I'm drowning in fury and fear. You knew about this, I say, my voice trembling but sharp, cutting through the hum of rain. Eliza's lies, calling my father a crook, and you did nothing. Vincent leans back in his chair, his gray eyes stormy, his suit pristine despite the chaos. The city skyline looms behind him, blurred by water streaking the windows. I'm handling it, he says, his tone clipped, authoritative, like he's commanding a boardroom, not a wife. Handling it? I snap, stepping closer, the hardwood, cold under my shoes. My mother's dying, Vincent. My family's name is trashed, and you're handling it? His jaw tightens, a muscle ticking beneath his skin, and he rises, towering over me. You think I don't know what's at stake? He growls, his voice low and dangerous. I'm saving Alden Corp and your family from ruin. His words hit like a slap, and I laugh, bitter and raw. Saving us? You bought me, Vincent. You let this happen. The accusation hangs between us, heavy as the rain outside, and for a moment his eyes flicker. Pain, maybe, or something deeper. But I can't stop. My mother's frail hands, Marco's worried grin, my father's broken voice, they fuel me, and I'm done being silent. I turn to leave, my coat flapping as I storm toward the door, but his voice stops me. Clara, wait. It's softer, almost pleading, and I hesitate, my hand on the knob. I didn't want this, he says, and I spin back, tears burning my eyes. Then why didn't you stop it? I shout, my voice cracking. He steps forward, closing the distance, and the scent of sandalwood and whiskey washes over me, dizzying. Because I'm trying to protect you, he says, and before I can respond, I'm out the door, running into the night. The rain hits me like a wall, soaking my hair, my coat, my skin. It's cold, relentless, plastering my clothes to my body, but I don't care. I stumble down the slick sidewalk, the city a blur of headlights and honking horns, my shoes splashing, in puddles that reflect neon signs. My mother's in the hospital because of this, because of my father's debts, Eliza's venom, Vincent's silence. I gave up everything for them, and it's still not enough. Tears mix with rain, hot against my chilled face, and I scream into the storm, a raw, primal sound swallowed by the wind. Footsteps pound behind me, and I turn, breathless, to see Vincent, his suit drenched, hair plastered to his forehead, gray eyes wild. Clara! He yells, his voice cutting through the downpour. I back away, my heart racing. Leave me alone, I shout, but he grabs my arm, his grip firm but not cruel. I can't lose you, he says, rain streaming down his face, and the desperation in his voice stops me cold. Lose me? I choke out, wrenching free. I was never yours. His hands drop, and for a moment, he looks lost, rain dripping from his lashes. Then he steps closer, his breath visible in the chill, and pulls me to him. You don't understand, he whispers, his voice breaking, and before I can push him away, his lips crash into mine. It's fierce, urgent, a collision of heat and rain, his hands cupping my face, mine fisting his soaked shirt. The world falls away, the headlines, the hospital, the deal, and there's only this, his warmth against my cold skin, his taste like whiskey and need, my pulse thundering in my ears. I kiss him back, hungry, desperate, a fire igniting where fear once lived. He pulls away, panting, his forehead pressed to mine, rain running between us. I'm sorry, he murmurs, and I feel the weight of it, his guilt, his fight, his truth. I'm trembling, not from the cold, but from what I've just unleashed. I'm 24, untouched by love until this moment, and it terrifies me. I step back, my breath ragged, and run. Not from him, but from myself. The driver takes me home, my clothes dripping onto the leather seats. The heaters hum a weak comfort. At the hospital, I slip into my mother's room, the antiseptic smell, sharp in my nose. She's asleep, her chest rising faintly, and I sit beside her, wiping a tear from her cheek with my sleeve. The scarf is in my bag, soaked now, but I pull it out, its wool heavy with rain and memory. Vincent's kiss burns in my mind, his lips, his hands, his apology. And I hate how it lingers, how it shifts something inside me. I watch my mother, her face peaceful despite the tubes, and think of Marco's drawing, my father's plea. They're why I'm here, why I married Vincent, why I can't let this storm break me. But as I clutch the scarf, my fingers tracing its frayed edges, I feel the truth creeping in. I love him. Not the CEO, not the man who bought me, but the one who chased me through the rain, who said he couldn't lose me. It's a dangerous, reckless thing, and it scares me more than Eliza's lies or my mother's cough. The rain slows outside, a gentle patter now, and I lean my head against the chair, my wet hair sticking to my neck. I vowed to save my family, to hold them together. But this fire with Vincent is something I didn't plan for. I'm not sure I can fight it, and I'm not sure I want to. The hospital room smells of antiseptic and fading hope, a sterile tang that stings my nose. As I sit beside my mother's bed, Margaret's breathing is shallow, the monitor beeping a steady rhythm that feels like a countdown. I hold her hand, her skin cool and papery, and wipe a bead of sweat from her brow with a trembling finger. My clothes are still damp from the rain, the scarf in my lap heavy with water and memory. But Vincent's kiss burns hotter than anything else. His lips, his hands, the raw edge of his I'm sorry. I push it down, focusing on my mother, because she's why I'm here, not him. The door creaks, and a shadow falls across the linoleum. I look up, expecting a nurse, but it's Eliza Kane, her crimson coat a stark slash against the white walls. Her heels click like gunfire, and her smile is a blade, sharp and cold. "Clara," she says, her voice smooth as silk, "I thought you should know the truth." My stomach drops and I stand, my wet shoes squeaking. "What truth?" I ask, my voice hoarse from crying and shouting in the rain. She steps closer, the scent of her perfume, something floral and expensive, clashing with the hospital's bleakness. "Your father wasn't just a failure," she says, pulling a folder from her bag, its edges crisp despite the storm outside. "He was a pawn. Vincent's father framed him for a financial collapse 15 years ago, millions lost, lives ruined. And Vincent's mother? She died in the fallout, a car crash no one could explain." My knees buckle, and I grip the bed rail, the metal cold against my palm. The letter from the library flashes in my mind. "Forgive me for what happened at the gala." And it clicks. Vincent's past is tied to mine, a knot of guilt and betrayal I never saw coming. Vincent knew, Eliza continues, her eyes gleaming with triumph. He kept it quiet to protect his precious empire and his name. She tosses the folder onto the bed, papers spilling across the blanket, and I see my father's signature, forged documents, a photograph of a wrecked car. My chest heaves and I choke out, "Get out." She smirks, but leaves, her heels fading, into the hallway's hum. I sink back into the chair, my mother's hand still in mine, and the weight of Eliza's words crushes me. My father's shame, my mother's sickness, my marriage, all built on a lie Vincent hid. I don't know how long I sit there, staring at the papers, the rain a faint patter now. My mother stirs, her eyes fluttering open, and I force a smile, brushing her hair back. "Clara," she whispers, "you're soaked." I laugh, a broken sound, and tell her I'm fine, but inside, I'm unraveling. When visiting hours end, I kiss her forehead, promising to return, and head back to the Alden estate, the driver's silence a balm to my chaos. The mansion looms, its lights glowing through the drizzle, and I find Vincent in our bedroom, the air thick with the scent of melting candles and red wine. He's in a shirt, sleeves rolled up, his gray eyes shadowed as he pours a glass. I don't knock, don't wait, just storm in, the folder clutched in my fist. You knew, I say, my voice a blade, and throw the papers at his feet. They scatter, a wreckage of truth, and his face pales, the glass trembling in his hand. Clara, he starts, but I cut him off. You knew my father was framed. You knew your mother died because of it, and you let us suffer. My voice rises, raw and ragged, and tears spill down my cheeks. He sets the glass down, stepping over the papers. His jaw tight. I was a boy when it happened, he says, his voice low, strained. My father buried it, and when I found out, it was too late. I wanted to fix it, Clara, but I couldn't face losing you too. His words hit me like a punch, and I shove him, my hand slamming against his chest. Fix it? You married me to keep your secrets. He stumbles back, but catches my wrists, his grip firm yet gentle. No, he says, his voice breaking. I married you to protect you. From him. From this. He releases me, and I see it. The hospital bills he's paid. The quiet calls to shield my father. My anger falters, and I'm left trembling. The room spinning with candlelight and truth. I was wrong, he whispers, stepping closer, his breath warm against my face. I'm sorry, Clara. His hands hover near my cheeks, and I don't pull away. I'm 24, a virgin to love until last night's rain. And now this, his guilt, his fight, his nearness, cracks me open. I grab his shirt, pulling him in and kiss him, hard and desperate, tasting wine and salt from my tears. His arms wrap around me, strong and steady, and for a moment, we're not a deal, not a lie, just two broken souls finding something real. The phone rings, shattering the haze, and it's Marco, his voice bright. Mom's awake, Clara. She's asking for you. I laugh, relief flooding me, and Vincent smiles, a rare, unguarded thing. I step back, my heart pounding, the scarf still in my bag, a lifeline I cling to. Eliza's truth has shattered me, but it's also freed me. My father's not the villain I feared, and Vincent's not the monster I thought. I love him, God help me, and it's a fire I can't quench. I look at him, his eyes soft now, and know this changes everything. My mother's alive, Marco's, hopeful, and my father's shame isn't his alone. I vowed to save them, and I will. But this, with Vincent, is a vow I never expected. The rain stopped, but the storm inside me rages on, and I'm ready to face it, not alone, but with him. The conference hall at Alden Corp buzzes with chaos, a swarm of flashing cameras and shouting voices that drown out the rain tapping the windows. I stand at Vincent's side, my hands clasped tight, the air sharp with the scent of ink and sweat-soaked suits. Reporters crowd the stage, their lenses glinting like predator eyes, and I feel exposed, raw, as if Eliza Kane's latest blow has stripped me bare. Her forged documents hit the press this morning, claims that Vincent hid my father's crimes to save his empire. And now the headlines scream, Alden CEO shields fraud. My stomach churns, thinking of my mother in the hospital, Marco's confusion, my father's fragile hope. Vincent grips the podium, his knuckles white, his gray eyes steely despite the storm. His suit is crisp, but I see the strain in his jaw, the shadow of last night's kiss and confession still lingering between us. This is a lie, he says, his voice cutting through the din, steady but edged with fury. Alden Corp stands on integrity. The crowd erupts, questions flying like shrapnel. What about Moretti? Did you bury the truth? And I feel the weight of their judgment, a noose tightening around us both, Eliza stands near the front, her crimson lips curved in a victor's smile, her camera crew poised. She's orchestrated this, her revenge for whatever grudge she holds, against Vincent, and I hate her for it, for dragging my family through this mud. The stock ticker on the screen plummets, red numbers flashing, and I know what it means. Ruin for Vincent, ruin for us. I step forward, my voice trembling but loud. "Vincent's not a liar!" I shout, and the room quiets, startled. "He's my family, and will prove the truth." My words echo, bold and reckless, and Vincent's gaze snaps to mine. A blaze of pride and something softer, love maybe, burning through the chaos. But the reporters swarm again, their shouts deafening, and I stumble back, my heels catching on the stage. Vincent steadies me, his hand warm on my arm, and whispers, "You didn't have to do that." I meet his eyes, my breath catching. "Yes, I did," I say, "because it's true. For him, for my mother, for the life we're clawing toward." He nods, a silent vow, and I feel the shift. We're in this together, not as a deal, but as something real. The drive home is a blur, the car slicing through sheets of rain, tires hissing on wet asphalt. The air inside smells of leather and Vincent's cologne, sandalwood and whiskey, a tether in the storm. My phone buzzes with Marco's texts. "Mom's okay, Clara. When you coming?" And I smile, clutching the soaked scarf in my lap. But Vincent's silence is heavy, his hands tight on the wheel, and I know he's wrestling with what's next. The car slows on a deserted road, rain hammering the roof, and he pulls over, his breath ragged. He turns to me, his hair damp, clinging to his forehead, and slides out into the downpour. I follow, my coat flapping, and he drops to his knees on the muddy ground, rain streaming down his face. "I was wrong, Clara," he says, his voice raw, breaking over the storm. "I should have told you everything. About my father, your father, my mother. I love you, and I don't deserve you." His words pierce me, a confession laid bare, and my heart stutters. I'm 24, a stranger to love until this week, and here he is, the cold CEO, kneeling in the rain for me. I pull him up, my hands shaking, and kiss him, hard, desperate, tasting rain and salt. His arms wrap around me, strong and sure, and we're soaked, shivering, but alive in a way I've never been. "We'll fix this," I say against his lips, my voice fierce. "Together." He nods, his forehead pressed to mine, and I feel it. A vow deeper than the one in the church, forged in mud and tears. Back at the hospital, my mother's room is quiet. The antiseptic smells softened by a vase of carnations Marco must have brought. She's awake, her eyes bright despite the tubes, and I sit beside her, wiping a tear from her cheek with my sleeve. "Clara," she says, her voice faint but firm. "I knew." My breath catches, and she squeezes my hand. "I knew your father was framed, that Vincent's father covered it up. I kept quiet to protect you all." The twist hits me like a wave. My mother, the keeper of this secret, carrying it alone to shield us. I choke on a sob, burying my face in her shoulder, her sweater soft with the scent of coffee and home. "Why didn't you tell me?" I whisper, and she strokes my hair. "Because you're my strength, Clara. I wanted you to live, not fight my battles." Tears spill, and I hug her tighter, the scarf falling to the floor, its wool a testament to her love. Vincent waits outside, his silhouette blurred by the rain-streaked glass, and I know he heard. When I step out, he pulls me close, his breath warm against my hair. "We'll make this right," he says, and I nod, my resolve hardening. Eliza's storm has broken us open, but it's also bound us, me to Vincent, us to my family. My mother's truth, Vincent's kneel, this love, they're my anchor now. I vowed to save them, and I will. But with Vincent at my side, I'm not just surviving. I'm fighting for something greater. The kitchen in my mother's apartment smells of coffee and toasted bread, a simple warmth that steadies me after days of chaos. I sit across from my father, Thomas, the steam from our mugs curling between us like a fragile truce. His hands tremble. As he grips the cup, his eyes sunken with guilt, and I feel the old anger flare, the debts, the deal, the years of silence. But my mother's words from the hospital, "I kept quiet to protect you," and Vincent's rain-soaked kneel soften the edges of my rage. I take a deep breath, the scent of burnt crust grounding me, and reach for his hand. "Dad," I say, my voice steady, "I forgive you." He looks up, tears brimming, and chokes out, "Clara, I never wanted this for you." His voice cracks, and I see the man who taught me to ride a bike, who danced with me in this kitchen when I was small. "I know," I say, squeezing his fingers. "We'll start over." Marco bursts in, his sneakers squeaking, and throws his arms around us, both, his laughter bright against the morning light. "Family hug!" he yells, and I smile, my chest loosening for the first time in weeks. The coffee's bitter, the bread's a little charred, but it's home, and it's ours. Back at the Alden estate, the news blares from the TV in the study. Alden Corp cancels lucrative deal amid scandal. And I find Vincent at his desk. Papers scattered, the air thick with the scent of ink and resolve. His sleeves are rolled up, his gray eyes tired but clear, and I know what he's done. He's severed a multi-million-dollar contract, a lifeline for his company, to shield my father's name and halt Eliza's lies. "Vincent," I say, stepping closer, "you didn't have to." He cuts me off, standing, his presence filling the room. "Yes, I did," he says, his voice low but firm. "I did it for you." My breath catches, and I see the man who knelt in the rain, who bared his soul under a storm. The desk lamp casts a soft glow on his face, highlighting the lines of strain, and I close the distance, wrapping my arms around him. His shirt smells of ink and whiskey, a mix of strength and surrender, and I press my cheek to his chest, hearing his heartbeat. "We did it for family," I whisper, and he pulls me tighter. His breath warm against my hair. "You saved me, Clara," he says, and I feel it. A partnership forged not in deals, but in love. The doorbell rings, sharp and unexpected, and Vincent tenses. It's Eliza Kane, her crimson coat stark against the dusk, her face a mask of defeat. "You win," she says, her voice clipped, no trace of her usual venom. She hands Vincent a USB drive, proof she's retracting her claims, ending her war. "I underestimated you," she adds, glancing at me, and I lift my chin, unflinching. "You underestimated us," I say, and she nods, a flicker of respect in her eyes before she turns and walks away, her heels fading into the night. We head to the hospital, the drive quiet, the rain now a drizzle painting the windshield. My mother's room glows with soft light, the antiseptic smell softened by Marco's carnations. She's sitting up, her sweater loose but her smile strong, and Vincent carries a tray of tea, Earl Grey, her favorite. "For you, Margaret," he says, setting it beside her, and she pats his hand, her eyes twinkling. "You're a good man." "Vincent!" Marco sprawls on the floor, sketching, and my father joins us, his shoulders straighter than I've seen in years. We laugh, the sound filling the room, and I pour tea, the steam rising like a promise. I sit beside my mother, wiping a stray drop from her cheek, and she leans into me, her warmth a balm. Vincent watches, his gaze soft, and Marco grins, holding up a drawing of us all, stick figures under a rainbow. "Look, Clara," he says, and I laugh, the tension of weeks melting away. Eliza's gone, her lies silenced, and my family's here, whole in a way I never dared hope. The tea's warm, the hospital bed creaks, but it's perfect. because we're together. Later, back at the mansion, I stand in the study, the lamp's glow pooling around me. The scarf lies on the desk, dry now, its wool a testament to my mother's love, my father's redemption, Marco's light. Vincent joins me, his hand brushing mine, and I turn to him. "We made it," I say, my voice thick with relief. He nods, his fingers threading through mine, warm and sure. "Because of you," he says, and I smile, feeling the weight lift. Not just the scandal, but the cage I thought I'd never escape. I'm 24, and I've found love, not in fairy tales, but in the mess of rain and secrets, in the quiet of tea and laughter. My vow was to save my family, and I did. But Vincent's become part of it, part of me. Eliza thought she'd break us, but she didn't know. Honor isn't money or power. It's this, these moments of forgiveness and fight. The city hums beyond. The window, lights flickering like stars, and I lean into Vincent, my head on his shoulder. We're not perfect, but we're real, and that's enough. The flower shop smells of carnations and damp earth, a sanctuary of petals and promise, as I adjust the last vase on the counter. Sunlight streams through the windows, warming the wooden floor, and I smile, my fingers brushing the soft blooms I've tended since I was a girl. Today's different, though. Today, I'm not just Clara Moretti, the florist who married a stranger to save her family. I'm Clara, the woman who found love in the wreckage, and I'm about to renew that vow, not under a cold church's shadow, but here, where I've always been myself. Vincent steps in, his gray eyes catching the light, softer now than the granite glare I met at our first wedding. He's in a simple shirt, sleeves rolled up, and carries a tray of coffee. Black, no sugar, the way my mother likes it. "For the occasion," he says, his voice warm, and I laugh, the sound bright against the quiet hum of the shop. My mother, Margaret, follows, her sweater loose but her steps steady, her cough a faint memory since the hospital released her. My father, Thomas, trails behind, his shoulders squared, a new job at a small firm lifting the weight of his past. And Marco bounds in last, his sneakers muddy, clutching a sketchbook with a grin that lights up the room. We've turned the shop into a chapel of sorts, carnations in jars along the walls, candles flickering with the scent of beeswax, a makeshift aisle of scattered petals. My mother insisted on this, her voice firm when she said, "You deserve a real start, Clara." Vincent agreed, and I did too, because the first vow was a deal, a chain. This one's a choice, a freedom we've fought for. I wear a simple dress, white cotton instead of silk, its hem brushing my knees, and Vincent takes my hand, his fingers warm and sure. Margaret stands between us, her hands trembling only slightly as she holds a ribbon, red, her favorite color, to tie our wrists in a quiet ritual. "Clara," she says, her eyes glistening, "you've carried us all. Now let him carry you too." I nod, tears pricking, and turn to Vincent. "I choose you," I say, my voice clear, ringing through the shop. "Forever." His gaze locks. With mine, a storm calmed and he smiles, a rare, unguarded thing. "You're everything to me, Clara," he says, his words a vow deeper than any priest could bless. Margaret ties the ribbon, her fingers deft despite the years, and I feel it. The weight of love, not burden, binding us. Marco cheers, clapping wildly, and my father joins in, his laugh rusty but real. We move to a table in the back where Vincent pours tea, Earl Grey for my mother, chamomile for me, and Marco unveils his latest drawing. Us under a rainbow, stick figures with oversized smiles. "Family portrait," he declares, and I ruffle his hair, the scent of grass and boyish sweat a comfort. My mother sips her tea, her hand in my father's, and I see them as they once were, young, hopeful, before the debts and secrets. They're healing, we all are. And it's more than I dared dream when I stood in that church, trembling under Vincent's cold gaze. Later, at the Alden estate, the sun dips low, painting the Hudson River with gold and amber. We gather on the terrace, the air crisp with the promise of autumn, and Vincent pulls me into a dance. No music, just the rhythm of our breaths and the distant city hum. My mother watches from a chair, her smile soft, and my father claps Marco on the back, their laughter mingling with the breeze. The scarf lies on the table, dry and worn, its wool a testament to the battles we've won. Her illness, his shame, our survival. Night falls, and in our bedroom, moonlight spills through, the window silvering the sheets. Vincent's arms wrap around me, his chest warm against my back, and we move together, slow and sure, our breaths sinking in the quiet. There's no rain now, no storm, just this, a peace I've earned. His lips brush my neck, tasting of coffee, and promise, and I turn, meeting his gaze. We made it, I whisper, my voice thick with gratitude. He nods, his hand tracing my cheek. Because of you, he says, and I smile, feeling the truth of it. I'm 24, and I've known love, not the fairy tale kind, but the kind forged in rain and secrets, in hospital rooms and flower shops. I think of my mother's strength, my father's redemption, Marco's light. They're my heart, my reason. But Vincent's here too, no longer a captor, but a partner. His gray eyes a home I didn't expect. Eliza thought she'd shatter us, but she didn't understand. Honor isn't power or wealth. It's this, these quiet moments of forgiveness and fight. The next morning, I'm back at the shop, arranging carnations, the scent grounding me as always. Vincent arrives, a mug of coffee in hand, black, no sugar, and sets it on the counter. For you, he says, his voice a soft rumble, and I take it, the warmth seeping into my palms. He leans in, kissing me gently, and whispers, "Mine forever." I laugh, the sound free and full, and kiss him back, my heart steady. And mine, I say, knowing it's true. Beyond the window, the city hums, the Hudson glints, and I stand, in my shop, surrounded by flowers and family. My mother's knitting again, my father's working, Marco's dreaming, and Vincent's here, with me. I vowed to save them, and I did. But this happiness, this love, it's more than I planned. It's eternal, not because it's perfect, but because it's ours, built from the ashes of a deal into something real, something lasting.